It is a distinct honor to have here in our midst a true trailblazer, a woman who hasn't compromised, who was ever so resilient, and has had such big impact on the world of medicine, as well as every different place that she has touched, and that's Dr. Alexa Canady. She's a Lansing, Michigan native, University of Michigan grad, there for undergrad as well as medical school, and finished cum laude and AOA and all the different prestigious stuff. Yale for her surgical residency, University of Minnesota for her neurosurgery training. And let me tell you guys, yes, I'm an anesthesiologist, but neurosurgery, that's the behemoth. That's the one that takes the longest amount of time to learn how to cut into people's brains and not kill them. She learned all that stuff, took years of training to perfect her skills, and has been saving thousands of lives over her illustrious career. So we are so blessed to have her here with us. Chief of Neurosurgery, Children's Hospital of Michigan, Michigan Woman Hall of Fame recipient, American Medical Women's Association Presidential Award, Teacher of the Year Award, Congress of Neuroscience, Neurosurgeon, and a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. I gotta put that in there. But we welcome her, delightful woman, trailblazer. Thank you so much.
You.
Okay.
Good morning. How are you? I had one. I was instructed to tell you my life story, which is pretty easy. I kind of know it. I didn't even have to study. But before I do that, I want to ask you a couple questions now. One, how many came because they thought it would be a great idea? How many came because somebody told you it would be a great idea? Oh, come on, admit it. It's okay. You have mentors. That's what mentors are for. Say, hey, don't blow that off. Self-starting is going to be the most important thing in your life. The second most important thing in your life is don't hang your hat down. Unless you're hanging with people.
I'm sorry, I'm not the AV guy. We just wanted a beautiful shot of you doing your good stuff.
Okay. Is that better, Gal? Okay. Just as the motivational speaker said, you have to hang out with people who want things. They don't have to want the same thing you want. They can want to be a lawyer, or want to be a professor, or want to be the best engineer, or whatever. But unless you hang out with people who want something, you're going to be distracted. Dr. Duncan was explaining that I trained for a long time, and I did, 7 years after medical school. But it didn't seem so long, because the people who were my friends and who I was hanging out with, they were all doing the same thing. We knew not to call anybody on Saturday afternoon. We knew they were asleep. And we knew that if I had to leave and go home early, it was okay, because they were going to have to leave and go home early. You just can't live in two worlds as you're trying to be a student. It's very difficult to live with people who have real jobs, real money, and are living a different kind of life. Now, you can join them later, after you're done, but along the way, a discontent gets created about, well, why am I doing this? I don't have any money, because most students don't. And they're out at the restaurant having a good time, out at the club having a good time. But as all the speakers so far have said, you have to decide whether you want something now or you want something forever. And if you want something forever, you have to work for it now. So you give up something, But if you surround yourself with people who are giving up something, it doesn't feel like you've lost anything. So that's the most important thought I can leave you with today. Now, the second thing I want to ask you is how many people know what they want to be when they grow up? Good. Most of you won't be that. You'll be something, though. The goal is to want to be something. It doesn't matter what that something is, because if you want to be something, you're going to work hard. And if you run across something later that sings to your heart, you can change because you have the skills to do that. And I'm one person who changed. I had no idea I would be a neurosurgeon. I mean, I kind of knew it existed because I watched Ben Casey, but other than that, I wasn't interested. So I'm going to tell you the story of my life and kind of the fun part. And I'm going to tell you now up front that I really have loved my life. I've been a very lucky person. I had good parents, I have a good husband, and I had a job that I loved until the day I left it. So I think that's happy. But my life is not going to be your life. Your life and your path is going to be your life and your path. And when I grew up there, it was a pretty small town. There were like 40,000 people there. I'm one of 4 children. I'm the only daughter, which has its positives and its negatives. I went to public schools, and I ran into a bit of a problem, although I didn't know it, when I was, you know how you take those standardized testing? Well, I apparently did really well on one. And we wouldn't have known it except that my grandmother came that summer and took a course at Michigan State where they needed people to be tested. So they tested her grandchildren and other people's children. And I did very well, and the professor said, well, what are they doing to teach her? And then when they went through the scores, they saw that my scores were very poor, and it turned out that the teacher had changed them. And I missed all this because I was in the 4th grade, and my parents didn't share until much later. But as the result of that, I ended up going from the 2nd grade to the 4th grade, and the teacher got fired. So good parents are important, you know, in terms of looking out for you and what's going on. And you can't underestimate that. I went on through junior high school, and I had a group of buddies like myself, 3 of them who have been my lifelong friends, one of whom is the director of Navy contracting. He went to MIT and is in neuroscience, one of whom is the managing partner of a large law firm. So we didn't do the same things, but we all wanted something. And life has gone on, and I've been fortunate enough to maintain those friendships throughout my life. And I'm not going to tell you how long I've known them now, because Steve and I have been friends since 4th grade. Then I went to college. Now, actually in high school, before I went to college, I went to a small town, as I pointed out. And in those days, our small town didn't have a curriculum that matched up to the Detroit City curriculum. In Detroit, particularly at the specialty schools in Detroit, the kids who came out had calculus as high school seniors, and in Lansing, that wasn't offered. And I had decided since I was in junior high school that I wanted to be a mathematician. I really, really wanted to be a mathematician. I loved numbers. I met a finance guy here today, and I loved that kind of numbers. I really did. But so I thought that if I could accelerate my curriculum a little bit in high school, which I did by talking to my teacher, and she arranged for me to have my 2nd year of algebra as an independent study at the same time that I took geometry. And then my buddy and I, Tom McKenna, remember those buddies who want the same thing? He did the same thing. And the 2 of us went to the community college for calculus in our senior year. It doesn't seem very exciting now, but in Lansing, no one had ever done it. And that was the first time it was done. And again, Tom and I were able to do that because we were supporting one another. We also went out to Michigan State and took a Fortran course in computing, and he carried on, and I abandoned him. Then I went on to college. I was a debater in college. I liked hearing the mention of the debate team, and I really very much enjoyed it, perhaps to my academic detriment that first semester. And then I settled down to working harder. But I had a crisis of confidence. I remember sitting in my advanced number theory class and saying to myself, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't like it like those guys like it. And if you don't like it, don't do it. It's got to be joy, bring you joy. So I decided I didn't know what I was going to do, and I really had a little bit of a lapse there. I took a semester where I passed everything without going to class, and I had another one where I did it, and I failed. So I ended up on academic probation. You didn't think that, did you? My undergraduate certificate is marked by my academic probation. Fortunately, I went to medical school, so no one ever asked for my undergraduate transcript. That's the only reason to go to medical school, to bury a really awful transcript. When I'm feeling kind of big in the head, I pull it out. And it reminds me of how awful I can be if I don't try. I finally, that summer, I have a brother who's older than I am. He had heard about a summer enrichment program for medical science. And he said, Alexa, if you take this course, in the summer, it was a job. They paid you $400 a month, which in my day was a lot of money. I mean, my rent was $60 a month. And I also, that summer, was working for the student newspaper as the editorial page editor that also paid me $400 a month. And we didn't start work till 5 o'clock. So that I could do both jobs. And are you ready for my lofty goal? Buy a car. My first car was $1,900, $50 a month, and I could save up enough money for the first year payments. But I fell in love with medicine in that science program. We went to lectures. They also worked in the laboratory for a human geneticist who also was a pediatrician, and he ran the genetics clinic, so I got a chance to go see clinical patients with him. And I found what sung to my heart, and that's how I fell in love with medicine. Fortunately, I did very well on the MCATs, and also fortunately, because I was the editorial page editor at the newspaper and wrote a lot of editorials, at Michigan, this paper is read by everybody, including the admissions committee. So they thought that I could think better than my transcript. And so I was admitted, and I loved medical school. I hadn't been a student in a really long time in a way that I loved it. And I could sit and study, and I just loved it. I had a rule for myself that I studied every day of the week but Friday. Friday was my day. I'd go to the movies, I'd go to dinner, I didn't have to study. And I think it's important to have that kind of break in the process so that you don't feel that all your life is one thing. Medical school, because I studied, I did very well and graduated cum laude. But I had a course my second year called Neurobehavioral Sciences, which just sung to me. I didn't much like heart and lung physiology, but neurobehavioral science, I could study that for fun. And so I decided that I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, not a neurosurgeon, I wanted to be in neuroscience. And the question was neurology, neurosurgery, or pediatric neurology. Those were the choices in that day. I had a friend who was good friends with a pediatric neurologist in St. Louis. And we have the summer off after our second year in medical school to study for the testing. And she said, come live with me for free and walk around with him. And that worked out really well. He was wonderful. He taught me a great deal about how to think. Then my family friend said, well, if you're going to want to do that, you should come spend time with a neurosurgeon. And he was the ER director, so he arranged for me to spend time with a neurosurgeon. And I liked that better. You say today in the morning that I think this is what you have, and this afternoon I'm right or I'm wrong. So it's the ultimate self-correction. And I fell in love with neurosurgery, and I felt I fit in neurosurgery better. It was my kind of personality. People have, specialties have personalities. Ophthalmologists, my artistic friend, everybody there can identify for you certain personalities that go to certain specialties because they sing to your strengths. And I loved it, but I had a problem, right? Now I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. I really, really wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But there were no black women neurosurgeons, and at the time there were 3 women neurosurgeons in the country. So I said, what do I do? So here's the second important thing. I made a plan. I decided that I was going to be a neurosurgery groupie. I mean, literally, that's what it was. If I didn't have a reason to be someplace else, I was there. I knew them. I took all the rotations in neurosurgery that I could. And by the time I was a senior, I was part of the department, and at the conferences, they would even call on me. And so in the end, I ended up with a residency slot, I thought. In my day, internship and residency were different. So I was at Yale, and I planned to stay at Yale. I had done an internship, not an internship, but a preceptorship there, and I was pretty sure they were going to select me. But he wouldn't tell you till October, and I wanted to go earlier. So I got an offer from Shelley Shue, University of Minnesota, and so I went to the chairman. I said, I think I'm your person, but I don't know. Would you tell me early? And he said, I'll tell you October 1st. It was a cultural disconnect. So I said, fine, thank you very much, and called Shelley Shue and said, I accept your position in Minnesota. I wasn't going to give up a definite for a maybe when nobody had the job that I knew that looked like me. But it worked out in my favor because Yale still claims me as one of their own. Michigan still claims me as one of their own. And Minnesota still claims me as one of their own. And so actually it helped me a lot in the application to the private societies. So I went to school, like you all at your stage, knowing exactly what I wanted to do. And I was wrong. But I was prepared because I had wanted to be something. So want to be something. If it ends up that you're one of those people, and there are those people who all their lives want to be one thing and it's what sings to them. But if you're one of those people who find something a little different, that's okay too, as long as you be something. And that's what we want all of you to be, something. Whatever sings to your heart. The best and most successful people in the world love what they do. Because it's only when you love what you do that you can really, really dig in and do your very best every day because it's fun. Thank you. Can I take some questions? Can I take some questions? Can I take some questions, Dr. Duncan?
Yes, please.
Can I take some questions? Any questions? No questions? Well, you guys aren't self-starters. Are we shy? You can't be shy and successful.
You can't be shy. You smart students out there, you scholars.
No questions. Oh, there we go. Stand up. You're brave. You get an A. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's another. Don't ask me a zoology question ever. Do you know why I have a zoology degree? Remember I told you I was a math major. And I was a math major for 2 years, so I had a bunch of upper-level math courses, and they counted in zoology. So I became a zoology major by adding 2 courses, an ecology course and comparative anatomy. And the rest of the stuff I had for my math degree counted. So whenever I see that, I kind of cringe, you know, because I know that I know no zoology. But it was a degree, and it was sufficient for what I needed. And sometimes you got to just take what you need. Other questions? Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that. Okay. You have to look around you all the time and see what's available to make you a better person. And that's intellectually a better person. I did some things along the way like that. I went to Interlochen, which is a music camp, a very famous music camp in Michigan. Now, you all can see I'm not a musician. and I knew I wasn't a musician, but it was a wonderful place. And I think it taught me one of my most important lessons in my childhood, which was the people who were there, some of them became professional musicians, and some of the names you'd know. And they worked hard. I mean hard. They worked harder than the people who weren't as good. And it wasn't just because they had more talent, although they did, but with that talent, they worked hard. They had one girl, they had to limit how much time she was allowed to practice. So I learned there that people who are successful work hard. And that was an important lesson for a person who was pretty full of herself. That it's important to work as hard as you can, not just get by. Because, you know, in high school, if you're a pretty bright person, you don't have to work too hard to get a good grade. But that doesn't make you a better person, nor does it help you down the road with your knowledge base. So, yes, I'm very much in favor of extracurricular activities. Also, because you want to be a real person. I mean, you don't want to be a machine. You want to do some things for the community. You want to do some things perhaps in your church. You want to do some things with your friends, just hang out. I mean, you got to be a real person. Real people do better too. The number one in my medical school class was kind of a guy who just studied and studied. He carried around Harrison's textbook of medicine, which is about like this before computers. And he committed suicide. I mean, that's not the life I want for you. I want you guys to love what you do. Wake up every morning and say, I get to go to work today. And have friends. Other questions? Balancing is hard, I think, you know. And it's not, you don't really balance. You kind of just shift a little bit. Sometimes one thing is more important than the other, and sometimes your family's more important, and you just have to adjust depending on the circumstances around you. Balance is hard to achieve. It's like a marriage, you know, you don't really have a 50-50 marriage. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, and you have to just accept that and make the best of the circumstances. Does that help? Okay. Other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Fantastic. Oh, don't go anywhere, young lady.